In my 7th month of pregnancy, I discovered Louis had a close female confidant by his side. They shared everything and had a perfect understanding. Louis would buy 2 bouquets of flowers every day, one for me and one for her, but there was never any impropriety, until that woman asked him, "If you had met me first, would you have married me?" Louis did not answer, but smoked on the balcony all night. Hello, everyone, welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day. Now, the story begins. Today, Louis has been absent-minded all day. Several times he seemed on the verge of speaking, but swallowed his words. In the end, I was the one who spoke first. Did something happen? Louis sighed. I need to go on a business trip to the neighboring city. I'll be back tomorrow. But you can't be left alone. Forget it. I'll send someone else. While he was speaking, I kept watching him speak with such genuine emotion. He met my gaze calmly. Without flinching or avoiding, he asked me with confusion, "What's wrong?" I shook my head. "It's nothing," I said. "Go ahead. Then what will you do alone?" "I'll ask my mom to come and stay with me." Ever since I became pregnant, Louis has been taking care of me with meticulous attention. Especially as my belly grew bigger, he was always worried about leaving me home alone. He turned down many social engagements just to take care of me. What if something happens and you're all by yourself? What would you do then? Anyway, I wouldn't be at ease when I'm out, so I might as well just stay home. Even on the rare occasions when he absolutely had to go out, he would at least wait until my mom arrived, giving her endless reminders to take good care of me. My mom was both amused and exasperated. My own daughter, how could I possibly treat her poorly? But today, he only hesitated for 2 seconds before nodding. "All right then, take good care of yourself. I'll be back as soon as possible. Call me if anything comes up." He left in a hurry. He only took a change of clothes and left in a rush. I stayed where I was, not moving, and even smiled and waved at him when he looked back at me. Even after the door closed tightly, I still didn't move, but the stiff back relaxed. Louis is acting strange. Everything about it is strange from start to finish. Yet I didn't say a single unnecessary word or ask a single unnecessary question, because I knew where he was going and who he was going to meet. At first, I didn't know that woman's name. I only knew her last name was Lyle. The first time I saw her was a year ago, back when I wasn't pregnant yet. I was waiting for him at a newly opened cafe downstairs at Louis's company. I hadn't informed him in advance, planning to call him around noon, but he suddenly walked in. The receptionist, who had been lazily lounging, straightened up. Louis nodded at her. She smiled and gave an okay sign. It was a silent understanding. I've always thought that the understanding between a man and a woman is a terrifying thing. It would make both parties mistakenly believe they were destined for each other. But at that time, the strange feeling only flashed through my mind, and I didn't think much of it. Later, Louis saw me and was very surprised. He asked me what I was doing there. I said, "I was waiting to have lunch with you. Why didn't you call me?" "I didn't want to disturb you at work." I asked him, "How come you came down?" He pinched the bridge of his nose and said helplessly, "Work stuff. It's really frustrating. I came down for a walk and to grab a coffee. The cookies they bake here are pretty good, you should try one." As he raised his hand, he said, "Ms. Michelle, another serving of cookies, please," facing the woman's puzzled gaze. He introduced with a smile, "My wife." That day, they were both completely at ease. Louis introduced calmly. Michelle greeted me calmly and even calmed our bill. Louis said the coffee here is authentic, tried it once and it was pretty good, so their company's afternoon tea is ordered from this place. After a few back and forths, we got familiar. At that time, I thought they were just a simple shop owner and customer. I didn't know that those incredibly tasty little cookies weren't actually for sale at their shop. I also didn't know Michelle would message Louis asking him, "If you had met me first, would you have married me?" Louis sent me a message at 10 p.m. saying he had just finished work and arrived at the hotel, said she was too tired and wouldn't video call me today, told me to take care of myself and call him if anything happened. I replied to each message, telling him not to worry, that I was fine. I asked the cafe server, "Ms. Michelle, why isn't she here?" The young girl was quite guileless, and hearing my familiar tone, she said with a smile, "She's gone. She left a while ago. It's our boss's birthday today. So she probably went on a date with her boyfriend." She was holding a huge bouquet of roses, so romantic. I nodded, got a coffee to go, and left. This city is huge, and finding 2 people is no easy task, but Louis once bought me a communication watch. I slipped it into his laptop bag before he left the house. He bought it for me during my 4th month of pregnancy. I was one of those people who had severe morning sickness, up until the 4th month of my pregnancy. My weight had actually decreased instead of increased. I had no idea I had already started to become anemic, nor did I know I would faint in the mall due to poor air circulation. Louis was terrified. His hands were trembling until I woke up. That watch is what he uses to monitor my health and track my location in real time. It's very expensive, so the accuracy of the positioning is also very high. Just like now, it has been stationary on the 12th floor of this hotel for 3 hours. I didn't rush over overnight. I am now only 23 days away from my due date. I still care about myself. After all, I threw away the coffee, drank milk, and lay on the soft bed, listening to the white noise for sleep. But even so, I still couldn't fall asleep, just like that night over a month ago. It was the first time I peeked at Louis's phone, because he was too anxious. He cut his hand while peeling an apple for me. He broke another cup while pouring water for me. He kicked the chair in front of him fiercely with a dark expression. I screamed, frightened by him. He apologized to me, saying he was upset about something at work and that he didn't mean to do it. But waking up in the middle of the night, I found the space beside me cold and empty. Louis had been smoking on the balcony all night. With a heart full of despair, I unlocked his phone. The chat interface was still open. The person with only one note, a single M, sent a message in the afternoon. If you had met me first, would you have married me? Louis did not reply. He did not reply with a single word. But that night, my heart still died in his phone. I arrived at the hotel at 6 a.m. with my household register and marriage certificate. I left everything at the front desk. Louis is my husband. I want to know which room he booked. If you can't tell me, I'll call the police. I don't have the energy to argue with anyone too much. Tired, I'm utterly exhausted, both mentally and physically. The receptionist was stunned for a long time. Her gaze shifted from surprise to hesitation, then to pity. Please wait a moment, I'll check for you right away. She quickly told me the room number, then asked if I needed any help. I shook my head with a smile. I gently stroked my bulging belly and went upstairs. Louis did not keep me waiting long. I had only been standing outside the door for less than 40 minutes when it opened. Louis stood there holding the doorknob. Behind him, a pair of slender arms wrapped around his waist. Louis, thank you for giving me this night. I will remember it for the rest of my what? Her words were left unfinished, as Louis hurriedly pulled away. He saw me and quickly walked towards me, but I tilted my head and looked behind him. Michelle sat slumped on the ground, her fiery red slip dress no longer able to cover her pale legs. She stared blankly at Louis's receding figure. There was both sadness and grievance in the gaze. Naomi. Louis's voice trembled as he called my name. Me too. My hands, clenched behind my back, wouldn't stop shaking. I thought I had mentally prepared myself to face this calmly, but now that I'm actually here, I find it difficult even to stand. Where's the car? Underground parking lot. Let's go. I leaned against the wall with my hand, turning around first. Louis wanted to help me. I growled, don't touch me. His hand trembled and froze. Then he followed closely beside me. Michelle caught up at this very moment. Ms. Naomi, you don't have to be like this. There's nothing as sordid as you imagine between me and Louis. Her tone was neither humble nor arrogant, her face full of stubbornness. Almost the moment her words fell, I slapped her. Smack. Ah, Michelle exclaimed. How dare you hit someone? She raised her hand in distress, wanting to touch Louis's noticeably reddened face. Louis sidestepped to avoid it. He looked at me pleadingly. Naomi, let's go home. Michelle clenched her fists and glared at me fiercely. Ms. Naomi, if you have any grievances, take them out on me. What right do you have to hit Louis? Stop talking. Michelle looked at Louis in disbelief. I'm helping you. Shut up. Louis snapped in a low voice. He didn't even glance at Michelle, keeping his eyes fixed on me as he spoke again. Naomi, let's go home. Naomi, I can explain. Yesterday was Michelle's birthday. She doesn't have friends here, so she wanted me to keep her company. I just spent her birthday with her. Nothing happened between us. I was wrong to lie to you, and I apologize. I was just afraid you'd get angry, afraid you'd overthink it. I was wrong, if you mind. I won't see her again. She's just a friend. Naomi, don't ignore me. Please say something. Don't scare me. From the moment he got home until now, Louis has said a lot. Explanations, apologies, self-reproach. I wanted to speak, but it felt as if my throat was stuffed with cotton. I couldn't utter a single word. I didn't know where to begin, nor did I know what to say. In the end, I could only say word by word. Louis, let's get a divorce. My words made Louis jolt violently. He clenched his fists and closed his eyes deeply. When he opened them again, it seemed he had suppressed his furious emotions. Nothing really happened between us. We were just drinking and talking. Naomi, please don't be like this. I know you're angry. It's my fault. I admit it. I'll take the punishment. But you have to believe me. I didn't do anything to betray you. What do you mean by something you're sorry for? You must have hugged, and probably kissed too. I can smell her perfume on you. And here, I pointed at his lips, a bite mark. Louis flinched, his lips tightening. I looked at him in despair. What more do I need to see? Catching you in the act. You two were alone in a room. The entire night. How can I believe you, Louis? How can I trust you, Louis? Louis dropped his head in despair. He knelt on one knee in front of me, wanting to touch me but not daring to. Naomi, I was wrong. I was blinded and lost my mind. But I swear nothing more happened. I beg you. For the sake of all these years we've been together, for the sake of our unborn child, give me one more chance. How laughable. He clearly knows about the deep bond we've shared all these years. He clearly knows our child is about to be born, yet he still did all these things, and yet he still hopes I can forgive him for the sake of all this. Layers of overlapping emotions, one after another, memories that drive one to the brink of collapse. I looked around in panic. Then let my gaze fall back on my own belly. Tears fell uncontrollably. The whimpering sounded like a trapped beast. Louis nervously shielded me. Naomi, Naomi, what's wrong? What are you looking for? Tell me, I'll help you find it. His voice was like a match, instantly igniting me. I finally burst into loud sobs. I want a divorce. I want to divorce you. This year marks the 4th year of my marriage to Louis. We were both overjoyed to be expecting this child. But it wasn't going well from the very beginning. The severe morning sickness made it almost impossible for me to eat anything. Yet, not eating was taking a toll on my body. I had no choice but to force myself. I cried every day back then. It was so painful that I felt I might as well be dead. We did consider not keeping this child, but when we actually saw the blood, we all panicked. I stayed in the hospital for a month, to prevent a miscarriage, in the early stages of pregnancy. I felt as if I had fallen seriously ill, severe malnutrition and anemia, coupled with that fainting episode. It's no exaggeration to say it's been a chaotic mess. This little life looks so fragile, yet so resilient. I was afraid that this incident might cause me to go into premature labor. I had even prepared myself to call 120 at any moment. I didn't dare to become hysterical, didn't dare to hit or break anything. Even crying had to be held back, until it could no longer be contained. But the chain reaction it triggered was me vomiting with a wah sound. I hugged the toilet, kneeling on the floor. It was a pain that felt as if all the internal organs had been displaced. Louis frantically pounded on the door. He begged me to open the door, to come out, he yelled, telling me not to joke with my own life and the child's. I clutched my stomach, mortified. How I wished I could end all of this with dignity. But my dignity had been trampled the moment Louis started to waver. My parents had been invited by Louis to come over. I opened the door only after hearing my mother's voice. My usually gentle and smiling father had a cold expression for the first time. Is this how you treat my precious daughter? They took me away. Louis can't stop it, Dad asked me. What are you planning to do? I said in a hoarse voice. I want a divorce. After a long silence, Dad said, then get a divorce. That night, my mother slept with me. She held me, gently patting my back, but didn't ask a single unnecessary question. My parents' silent comfort helped calm me down. Early the next morning Louis showed up at our door. He bought breakfast and forced a smile to greet my parents. They nodded and then went out, leaving the space to us. Louis held the wontons I love, looking at me ingratiatingly. Naomi, eat something. I stared blankly. Louis, let's talk. He held the breakfast box for a long time, then finally nodded. Good, where to begin? I said to Louis, I gave you a chance, and I even thought about pretending it never happened. Louis paused for a moment, looking at me with some confusion. I smiled sarcastically. That day Michelle asked you, if you had met her first, would you have married her? Because of that one sentence, you became anxious, furious, and stayed up all night. While you smoked on the balcony through the night, I secretly looked through your phone. I've always felt that going through a partner's phone is not a good behavior. When you start doing this, a rift has already formed. If there's no trust left between two people, why stay together? Even with such thoughts, I still ended up reaching this point. My words made Louis freeze. His body leaned back slightly. It was an instinctive posture of wanting to flee. He clenched his fist and took a deep breath. But I didn't reply to her. I wiped away the tears that had unconsciously welled up in the corners of my eyes. Yeah, you didn't reply, but it hurt me even more than if you had. The suffocating silence once again filled the air. Louis opened his mouth several times as if to speak. Finally, he said, if you've seen those, you should understand, before this, there was nothing improper between us. I only saw her as a friend. That night, yes, we drank too much and lost our heads a little. But it stopped there. It didn't go any further. Naomi, I really didn't betray you. I didn't look at Louis, only let out a long, heavy sigh. April 3rd was the day I scheduled the 4D ultrasound, the first time we could see what our baby roughly looked like. I was so excited, but you said you didn't have time because of an important meeting. In reality, you had made plans to go hiking with Michelle. You ordered 2 bouquets of baby's breath downstairs every day, one you took with you in the morning, for her, one you brought back in the evening, for me. Only on February 14th was it different. You took roses, 19 roses. The dedicated elevator in your building requires an internal access card. Michelle complained about how long she had to wait, so you gave her one. You said your shoulder hurt, and she specially went to the hospital to get you medicated patches. During that time, you always smelled like medicine. When I asked, you said you bought them yourself. On your birthday, after I fell asleep, in the early morning, you went downstairs. Michelle gave you a cufflink. She asked you if she was the first to wish you a happy birthday, and you said yes. Your is. She says go. You say go. She mentions a rooftop. You reply with a 1. She says she's tired. You say you'll be right there. Span the day you changed cars. You took her for a test drive. She said someone mistakenly thought you were a couple, and you sent an awkward emoji, followed by a screen full of ha ha ha. Span every day on your way home from work. You have voice chats with her for 27 minutes. At normal speaking speed, you can say 2,000 to 3,000 words. Besides, when we were in the honeymoon phase, how long has it been since we've spoken that much in a day? The Louis chatting with Michelle was unfamiliar to me. No, I shouldn't say unfamiliar. The Louis from university was just like that, outgoing, talkative, and even a little childish. It's just that the person on the other side is no longer me. That unbearable sensation, as if ants were gnawing at my skin, nearly overwhelmed me. Louis's head drooped lower and lower. He said without any confidence, I only see her as a friend. I was just too tired sometimes and chatted with her. We were just talking. Naomi, what will it take for you to believe me? A deep sense of powerlessness dragged me down. Louis, do you know how much I wish you had already cheated? Your closeness and you are like a guillotine hanging over my head. I don't know when it will fall. I can only wait in fear. I thought about pretending not to see it, and I hesitated about whether to turn a blind eye. I really hesitated. I'm pregnant. Our child is about to be born. Nothing really happened between them. Should I face it clearly or gloss over it vaguely? But in fact, when I turned off my phone and lay down, pretending nothing had happened, it already showed my attitude. I thought I could handle it, but ever since I discovered those things, I no longer trust you. The moment you're out of my sight, I suspect you're with her. What are you talking about? What are you doing? Those suspicions gnaw at me every second. I'm going crazy. Louis, you're driving me insane. I cried and screamed helplessly. That was the most painful month and a half of my life. I almost felt like I had gone insane, until Louis agreed to stay with Michelle for the night. She said, maybe then I can let go. Louis, have some pity on me. Louis replied, okay. At that moment, the guillotine finally fell. I lived toward death. Louis, let's get a divorce. Louis disagreed. He said he was willing to make any compromise, except for divorce. He started coming to my parents' place every day. If I don't let him in, he just sits in the car, staying there all day. He's tired. And so am I. It wasn't until I wanted a divorce that I realized how difficult it is to get one. If one party disagrees, the only option is to file a lawsuit. From filing to the court hearing, it takes at least a month. If there are no major faults, the first trial won't grant the divorce. Then you have to wait another 6 months and file again. Can it be determined the second time? It should, perhaps, probably. But now, I'm about to give birth. I can't wait a month. I can only endure. This makes me anxious, sleepless, and lose my appetite, even starting to rage. When I hysterically threw out what Louis had brought to my door again, the warm porridge splattered all over him. Louis was trembling with anger. What more do you want from me? I've already admitted my mistake, apologized, and promised it won't happen again. Why are you still holding on to this? Am I really that unforgivable? After all these years together, can't you give me just one chance? Naomi, I'm begging you. Can we stop fighting? My ears were buzzing. My hand, which was holding onto the door, had lost its strength and began to slip downward. Louis, I'm begging you too. Stop making me sick. This was the last thing I said to Louis before I passed out. My mom said I had severe bleeding. I was rushed straight to the operating table, a C-section. Danger lurked at every turn, but in the end, both mother and daughter were safe. Louis's mother rushed back from abroad. His mother held my hand, her face full of concern. You've been through so much, and you, child, why didn't you call me when something this big happened? Louis, oh, he's learned his lesson this time. You didn't see, he's still hiding in the emergency stairwell crying. I'm so tired, too tired to even speak. It was my mother who coldly grabbed my hand. Louis's mom, if you truly care about our Naomi, let Louis get a divorce and stop tormenting each other. Louis's mother stiffened. In-law, we as parents shouldn't interfere like this. The young couple has had a bit of a conflict. Louis was wrong. I'll make him apologize. But in life, even teeth bite the tongue sometimes. Let alone a married couple. Besides, they have a child now, even if just for the child's sake. They chatted on as if they had a lot to say. I stopped listening. I drifted off into a heavy, drowsy sleep. Towards Louis's mother, I have always held respect and closeness. She treated me well. and I was willing to treat her well in return. But when trouble came, I realized that every mother still sides with her own child, or perhaps, in the eyes of both Louis and Louis's mother. I was making a big deal out of nothing. I don't want to see Louis. He stood guard at the door of the hospital room every day. My father stopped him from coming in. He neither made a fuss nor forced his way in. He just stayed quietly, only occasionally begged to see his daughter. My mother softened a few times and took the child out while I was asleep. I actually know everything. I just pretend not to know. I can't sever this child's ties to his bloodline. Life is so long, how can I keep them from ever meeting? Louis's persistence is paying off. At least my parents are wavering. They've started sighing whenever they face me and the child. My mom even hesitated and said, "Maybe, let's just drop it." Helpless and isolated, it pains me. But how can I tell everyone that if it were someone else, it would be fine, no problem? But Louis, no, I love myself so much. I wholeheartedly look forward to the arrival of our child. Yet he stabbed me in the back when I loved him the most. The feeling of being betrayed by a loved one torments me every single moment. I hate him. I no longer trust him either. How am I supposed to spend the rest of my life with him? Do I really have to wait until the marriage rots to the core before I can let go? I stayed in the hospital for 15 days. Michelle came once, bringing a fruit basket and flowers, saying they came to see me and the child. At that time, my parents took the child for blue light therapy. Louis said, "You should leave, don't come again." Michelle was silent for a few seconds, and when she spoke again, her voice trembled a little. "What do you mean, not answering my calls or replying to my messages? What, can't we even be friends anymore? Is it that MS? Naomi still has some misunderstanding. I can go explain to her." Michelle," Louis interrupted her. "Let's not contact each other anymore." Michelle left in tears. The fruit basket hit Louis. She called Louis a bastard. Louis took it in silence. Later, he stood by my bedside for a while. As he was about to turn and leave, I called out to him, "Louis, I just want to ask you, when Paula grows up and faces the same situation as I did, would you advise her not to make a fuss?" Louis remained silent. I continued, "My daughter doesn't have to endure it, and neither do I. I know his conversation with Michelle was deliberately meant for me to hear. He was telling me that he would cut ties with Michelle, but what does that matter? Does ending it now mean they never loved each other before? Does breaking it off now mean they will have no further involvement in the future? Louis, let's get a divorce, otherwise, I will file a lawsuit once I'm discharged from the hospital." My words seemed to ignite the emotions that Louis had been suppressing all along. "Why?" he growled. "I've already apologized to you like this. I'm kneeling to you. I'm begging you with tears. What more do you want? I just made one mistake. Do I deserve to be sentenced to death? Won't you even give me one chance? Naomi, is your heart made of stone?" This was the first time he had left so resolutely. He said, "Let's not see each other for a while. Both calm down, and we'll talk when you've thought it through." At first, I didn't understand Louis's meaning, but from our university days until now, 4 years of dating and 4 years of marriage, I still understand him after all. He seems to be saying, everything should be done in moderation. Going too far makes it unappealing. This realization sent a chill through my heart. It also strengthened my resolve to get a divorce. I met with a lawyer before even finishing my postpartum confinement and filed for divorce in court. The lawyer told me that the first trial would basically not grant the divorce, especially since Louis was not cooperating. If you're determined to divorce, start living separately after the first trial. After a full year of separation, file again, and it will basically be granted in about half a year. I counted the days, waiting for the court date. Upon receiving the court summons, Louis went berserk. I heard he smashed everything in the office and furiously yelled at everyone to get out. I thought he would come to me, but the news that reached me first was that his mother had fainted and was hospitalized. "What happened?" I asked my friend. She shook her head, not sure. Seems like she had a fight with Louis's dad. As for the exact reason, no one knows. "How is she now?" "She's awake, but she's crying and wailing, saying she wants to die." I breathed a sigh of relief. As long as she's awake, that's what matters. Mom said, "Aren't you going to take a look?" I was busy changing my daughter's diaper and didn't even look up. "No, since we've already decided to go our separate ways. We shouldn't do things that give each other false hope." It's strange. It seems people can grow up overnight. Before my daughter was born, I thought Louis's betrayal would leave me in unbearable pain until the day I died. But in the day-to-day care of my daughter, I found myself not so sad anymore. I began to face the truth. My marriage had failed. I didn't intend to visit Louis's mother, yet she called me, saying she wanted to see me. "I don't mean anything else, Naomi, I just want to talk to you." Her voice was sad and low. I hesitated for a long time. In the end, I went over. In just these few days, Louis's mother has visibly become haggard. It's still Louis. He looked utterly dejected, as if he had lost the whole world. Lost. helpless, in pain. He said, "Naomi, thank you. Thank you for coming to see my mom." I nodded at him and walked into the ward. Louis's father had an affair. No, to be more precise, he met his true love and wants a divorce, and his so-called true love is only 2 years younger than Louis. He said he's never been so compatible with anyone before. They eat together, fish together, travel together, and have endless things to talk about. He said he feels like he's come back to life. He said he's sacrificed his whole life for this family. Why can't he live for himself just once? Louis's mother grew more agitated as she spoke. He said he only feels a sense of duty toward me and this family, that I and this family have tied him down. How dare he? Does he think he's the only one who has contributed to this family, and I haven't? How can he dismiss our years of feelings with just a few words? He's fallen for someone else and cheated, yet he still tries to make himself sound so noble. I won't let them have their way. I'd rather die than let them succeed. Divorce me to be with his new lover. Not a chance. Louis's mother trembled as she grabbed my hand. Naomi, you understand me, don't you? You get what I'm going through, right? You're the only one in this world who knows what I've been through. He's pushing me to my death. With every word she spoke, I finally understood why she wanted to see me and why she was telling me so much. It's true that you don't know the pain until the knife cuts into your own flesh. Earlier, she had lightly glossed over Louis's fault, describing it as nothing more than teeth accidentally biting the tongue. But now, when it comes to herself, she says this is forcing her to die. To this, I offered neither comfort nor took advantage of her misfortune. I only pushed her hand away after she finished speaking. Facing her expectant gaze, I said calmly, "You should rest well. Paula will wake up soon, so I'll head back first." Naomi, as I left the hospital room, Louis was standing outside. He looked at me with eager eyes. "Can we talk, please? Talk? What is there to talk about? Even when it comes to divorce, I just want to get it over with, not talk about it." "Louis, do you know that I came to see your mother today, but I haven't even finished my postpartum confinement. I should be lying in bed resting right now, not standing here talking to you." My words made Louis's face turn pale again and again. He timidly took a step forward. I stepped back. He dared not come any closer. "Let me ask you 2 questions. First, if your father hadn't mentioned divorce but just had a close female friend, would you empathize with your dad or feel sorry for your mom? Second, your father having this close female friend isn't something that just happened overnight. Why did he have to bring up divorce at this critical moment?" After saying all this, ignoring Louis's emotions that were pushed to the brink, I turned and walked away. Louis's father was determined. He would rather leave with nothing than stay in this marriage. This left everyone utterly astonished. For as long as anyone could remember, loving parents and a well-off family had been Louis's defining traits. He had never known the hardships of a troubled family. His father was his idol, and his mother was always gentle and kind. After graduation, he started his own business using the family's funds and resources, and now he has become a moderately successful boss. So, he hasn't experienced much of the hardships of society. The only turbulence, perhaps, is that I'm about to divorce him this time. I understand Louis. He knew he was wrong, but he also felt he wasn't that wrong. He chose to admit his mistake, but he also thought that just admitting it would be enough. What's the big deal? What's the big deal? But his father's matter seemed to have suddenly woken him up. He hasn't contacted me for many days, but he often appears outside our residential area. The car was parked there, sitting for hours on end, until one day he called out to my dad, saying he wanted to see me, that he had something to tell me. "It's fine if she doesn't want to come down. I'll just stay for a bit, just a moment, and then I'll leave." After saying this, my father sighed. I don't know what he's been through, but he's lost a lot of weight, and the smell of smoke on him is frighteningly strong. I hesitated for a moment, but in the end, I decided to talk to him. We sat on a bench by the roadside. After a long silence, Louis spoke up. He said, "You asked me that question last time, and I've been thinking about it for a long time." Later, I asked him why he brought up divorce at this time. He said it was because of my attitude and my mother's attitude. Our casual treatment of this matter made him feel that it was acceptable for a man to have a close female friend outside. He thought I would understand him falling for someone else, because I had done the same thing. In that case, he figured we should be able to accept his request for divorce just as well. Louis said these words with trembling hands. His voice was too. How could he do those things? He and my mom had always loved each other. Even the day before he asked for a divorce, he would still hug my mom before leaving the house. Louis buried his face in his palms. He was crying, because of his father's betrayal of marriage and family. But his tears did not evoke any pity in me. Instead, they made me uncomfortable, until he asked me, "Naomi, do you hate me so much?" My hand on the bench tightened, a splinter digging into my fingertip, sharp and painful. I recall those not so pleasant experiences. At first, I was sad. Discovering that you had such a close female friend by your side made me very sad, but when you didn't respond to her confession, I breathed a sigh of relief. At least you hadn't betrayed me. Yet you didn't end it either, you kept doing those things, and that made me suffer. You were just friends, you didn't cross any lines. Does getting married mean you can't even have friends anymore? It felt like if I pressed the issue, I would just be making a fuss over nothing, until you agreed to spend the night with her. I suddenly felt relieved. They say those involved are often blind. You didn't respond to her confession not because you didn't want to, but because you couldn't. So you were in pain, anxious, and furious, even knowing she had feelings for you. You still didn't keep your distance because you couldn't bear to. When you agreed to spend the night with her, you had other intentions too, didn't you? What held you back? Probably your last shred of responsibility and moral bottom line. Louis, when I belatedly realized that you actually liked her, I hated you so much. Louis looked at me with pain in his eyes. I felt the knot in my heart loosen a little. But all of that is in the past. Hatred is too intense an emotion, it hurts both others and oneself. There's no need for it. Louis, if you really feel sorry for me, then decisively go through with the divorce. Let's preserve some final dignity for each other. At the end of our conversation, Louis agreed to the divorce. This made my long tensed heart finally relax. Perhaps the smile on my face stung him. He left in a hurry, as if fleeing in defeat. I divorced Louis on a sunny and pleasant morning. He left with nothing, giving all the fixed assets to me. He only left the company. He said that from now on, everything he has will be Paula's. What he gave, I accepted. As for his words, I just smiled and didn't respond. A lifetime is too long, not making promises and not believing in them. This is probably the self-protection of adults. As for his relationship with Paula, I won't deliberately hinder it or encourage it. Let it be. Paula grew day by day, transforming from a scrawny little monkey into a plump, rosy glutinous rice ball, utterly delightful. My mother couldn't get enough of her, happy to dote on her every day. I, in turn, gladly enjoyed the leisure and ended my vacation early to return to work. Louis often came to visit Paula. I always find excuses to avoid it. Gradually, he got the hint and tried to come over when I wasn't around. His parents are still fighting. I heard his father has already set up a home elsewhere. His mother argued and scolded every day, but it couldn't change his father's resolute decision to leave, so she began to take it out on Louis, saying it was all Louis who led the way and influenced his father. One drama after another. I didn't need to see it with my own eyes. Countless people whispered it into my ears. Later, Louis came around less and less often, because his mother made such a scene. Both his father's career and his own company were affected to varying degrees. Some sighed with pity, some mocked, and some simply watched for amusement. Even my mom couldn't help but exclaim, "It's a good thing you got out of that mess early. Otherwise our Paula would have been affected." I had nothing to say to that. Later, I ran into Michelle once. She had a new relationship. She apologized to me, talking about the foolish things she had done in the past, saying she had let it all go now. Her face was full of relief, as if she wanted to bury the hatchet with a smile. I found it quite absurd. Do you really want to apologize to me? You're just selfishly seeking psychological comfort. Miss Shu, I have no obligation to satisfy you, because you have genuinely destroyed my marriage and family. This guilt is something you should bear. And all I need to do is cut out the deep-rooted illness and cast off the burden. I have a job, children, and a family who loves me. A failed marriage can only cause me pain for a while, but it will never cause me pain for a lifetime, provided I withdraw in time. Extra, Louis. Louis first met Michelle when her cafe had just opened. To deliver the meal on time, she begged Louis to let her use that internal elevator. It was a simple favor. Louis agreed. Later, Louis asked himself if he would have agreed for anyone else. Probably not, because Michelle was beautiful enough. That brief glance had truly stunned him. The second time they met, Michelle thanked him by buying him a cup of coffee, so Louis let her ride the elevator one more time, and she gave him some cookies she had freshly baked. Back and forth like this, Louis and Michelle got to know each other. The company's afternoon tea order was given to Michelle. He and Michelle exchanged contact information. That time he went hiking, he ran into Michelle, and it turned out she enjoyed it too. She also shared her desserts and coffee. Louis felt a long-lost sense of comfort. Michelle said, "Shall we go together from now on?" Louis smiled but did not agree. He thought it wasn't a good idea, but in the end, he agreed, because they met again at the same concert. That concert, originally Naomi was supposed to go with him, but she stood him up for work. Louis didn't say it out loud, but he was disappointed inside. Michelle's appearance made up for his disappointment. They actually had so many similar interests. This kind of connection fascinated Louis. During the conversation, he mentioned that he gives Naomi a bouquet of baby's breath every day. Michelle was envious. She said no one had ever given her flowers. Louis felt a bit soft-hearted, so he said, Then shall I see you off? Really, of course, Louis thought it was a harmless matter. It was just ordering one more bouquet of flowers. So later, on Valentine's Day, when Michelle said, "I really want to have a beautiful romance, if only someone would give me a bouquet of roses," Louis agreed without a second thought. "Do you have to be in a relationship to receive roses? I'll give them to you." Louis didn't think too deeply about it. Was his urgency at that time because he didn't want Michelle to be in a relationship? Louis likes Michelle, right? He probably does. But whether this liking has anything to do with love, Louis has never thought about. But he knows that Michelle's liking is related to love. How could he not know? Men are most sensitive in this regard. But he didn't want Michelle to say it out loud. He couldn't give Michelle what she wanted, nor did he want to. He has the wife he loves, and their child is about to be born. Michelle can only be a friend to him. But in the end, Michelle still said it. This made Louis extremely anxious. Too anxious to see Naomi, as if Naomi's presence was an obstacle. Louis did not reply to Michelle. Michelle also acted as if that question had never been asked. They continued with their previous way of getting along. As long as it wasn't brought into the open, they stood on the moral high ground. But there are no walls in this world that don't let wind through. That night was absurd. They embraced and kissed, only stopping short of the final step, when Louis opened the door and saw Naomi. His heart sank to the bottom. Louis didn't think it was that serious at first. Or rather, he deliberately deceived himself. He just made a friend he gets along with quite well. He didn't cheat. He didn't do anything to hurt Naomi. Naomi can be angry or upset. He will also apologize. But only this much. Divorced. That's enough. Ever since Naomi found out, Louis has been on edge, constantly swinging between guilt and irritation. Naomi felt guilty when she was sad or upset. But when Naomi kept talking about divorce, he would become extremely irritable. He had only made one mistake, a mistake not severe enough to be unforgivable. Why can't you forgive him just once? Louis didn't understand, until his father brought up divorce. During that time, Louis was in a very bad mood. His mother would also join in the complaints, complaining Naomi was being unreasonable and too dramatic. It wasn't a big deal to begin with, but she made it seem like the sky was falling. Forget about a red-haired confidant. Any capable man has some complications around him. If you want to keep the peace, sometimes you just have to turn a blind eye. This was said at the dinner table. His father said thoughtfully, "So you think this kind of thing is no big deal?" His mother didn't feel anything unusual and just said indifferently, "Of course, what's the big deal? That's just how the world is these days. That's just how the world is these days." So his father said, "I've fallen in love with someone else. Let's get a divorce. I'll leave with nothing." His dad has been with that girl for 2 years now. Can only call her a girl. After all, she's 2 years younger than Louis. His dad says it's the first time he's liked someone this much. "Have I spent the greater part of my life sacrificing for my family and career, only to be denied the chance to live for myself in the end?" Listening to his father talk about his relationship with that girl, Louis felt as if he had been slapped in the face. How similar, his father and that girl, how similar they were to him and Michelle. He felt as if he had been stripped naked and thrown into a public place, feeling embarrassed, humiliated, and his scalp tingling. But he couldn't just flee in panic, because his mother had fainted. First, if your father didn't mention divorce but just had a close female friend, would you empathize with your father or feel sorry for your mother? Second, your father having this close female friend isn't something that just happened yesterday. Why does he have to bring up divorce at this critical moment? Naomi's 2 questions hit like a sudden blow to the head. Louis finally understood the saying, "Only when the knife cuts your own flesh do you truly feel the pain." What truly made him decide to divorce was his mother's hysterical words to Louis, "You really are your father's son, exactly like him," even using the same excuses for finding other women. "Disgusting, disgusting," Naomi said. "Can you stop being so disgusting?" she said. "At least your dad had the guts to admit he fell for someone else, but you don't even dare to admit it. Louis, you're worse than your dad." Louis was on pins and needles, trembling all over. "No, it's not like that, but..." Doesn't he hate his father? He doesn't understand. He doesn't even want to say another word to his father. If it were him in his father's place, Naomi, his newborn daughter, would she hate him just as much? Louis was afraid. From that moment on, he finally began to regret. The end. Story 2. I shamelessly fawned over Jared for 3 years. He didn't like using condoms. Always after, bare-chested and covered in scratches, he'd turn his back to me to smoke, saying magnanimously, "What's there to be afraid of? If you get pregnant, we'll just get married." A month later, staring at the 2 lines on the pregnancy test, I chose not to tell him and instead broke up with him abruptly. Later, he saw me at the abortion clinic. I was holding my pregnant belly, chatting with another pregnant woman next to me. Even though I was heartbroken when I broke up with him, if I really had to carry his child, I wouldn't dare. crying while holding a blanket and crying while holding a child, I can still tell the difference. Let's just talk for now. I have someone else in mind for marriage. On the day I found out I was pregnant, I went to the club Jared frequented, about to push the door open. I heard them inside discussing which brand of condoms feels the most comfortable. Someone joked, "Ask Jared, he has a girlfriend, so he must have the most experience." Soon, I heard Jared say casually, "Condoms, never used them." The person next to him was stunned. "Not even once? Aren't you afraid Christina might get pregnant?" Jared lit a cigarette, his voice muffled by the smoke. "It's fine. She always remembers to take the pill after we're done." The surroundings immediately erupted. "Damn, you've really messed with a good girl." Jared smiled lazily, his voice drawling. "What good girl? I've played with both her mouths, and I know exactly how many moles she has on her body." Someone couldn't help but ask, "Jared, what if you really get Christina pregnant? What would you do?" Jared paused, then slowly began, "If she's really pregnant, then let's get married. Christina is very sensible, and we get along quite well. If it's marrying her, it wouldn't be too hard to accept." Someone teased him, "If I remember correctly, you used to change girlfriends every week. With such a wild past, are you really willing to settle down with someone?" Jared curled his lips indifferently. "It's not like she's pregnant yet. Is it? I don't want to think that far ahead. If I really get tired of playing around, at worst I'll just find a decent excuse to break up with her. She'll listen. Besides, she's a people pleaser. Every time we break up, she never blames me. Instead, she immediately reflects on whether it's her own fault, then hugs me and apologizes. I had a sudden impulse to try it in the car last time, but she didn't agree. I just scared her a little, saying I'd break up with her if she refused. And she gave in." The people around clicked their tongues and sighed. "Damn, she's so easy to fool." Jared lowered his eyes, his voice softening a bit. "It's because she's too easy to fool that I don't want her to be tricked by someone else. Luckily she met me. If she ran into a bad person, with her being such a crybaby, she'd cry her voice hoarse. Just stay by my side, so I can keep a closer eye on you and feel more at ease." Someone laughed. "So after all this, it turns out Jared is doing charity work, but you really need to keep a close watch with Christina's face. Who wouldn't want to have some fun? Not only is her face innocent, but her figure is also curvy in all the right places, with a peach-like but that looks almost ripe. If this were my girlfriend, I'd be over the moon." Jared gave him a cold glance. "You don't even think about it." A moment later, as if struck by a thought, his gaze softened a little. "But she is indeed innocent, no matter how many times she cries like it's the first. To be honest, I'd really be reluctant to part with her." People in the private room teased him, saying this playboy had turned into a devoted lover. Just then, someone threw out a question. "Seriously, Jared, if Christina really got pregnant, would you actually settle down for her? Come to think of it, didn't you get together with her in the first place just to spite your unattainable crush Leslie? Leslie seems to have just broken up recently, and she works at your company. Isn't this your chance?" This time, Jared stared blankly at the ground. The tip of his finger glowed crimson, flickering. He remained silent for a long time. I stared at the 2 lines on the pregnancy test. Actually, I didn't come to tell him about the pregnancy. It was just because his friend called and said he was drunk, so I came to take him home. In fact, seeing Jared so distraught over Leslie made me feel somewhat relieved. In fact, ever since I became pregnant with this child, I've been thinking about how to break up with him. Back then, Jared was with me, really because of Leslie. There is a kind of person in this world, they've never suffered, never been struck by hardship, and their words carry a tone of why not eat meat porridge naivety. Leslie is exactly that kind of person. She is my roommate. Every morning, she stands in front of the mirror, clenches her fists, and sweetly cheers herself on. "Good morning, Leslie. You are the warmest little sunbeam. Do your best today." Jared chased Leslie with such a grand display that the whole school knew about it. Roses, luxury goods, he showered her with them as if they were free. If she casually mentioned liking a certain brand of bag, the next day, that bag would be lying at her dormitory door, its price equivalent to 3 years of my part-time wages. Jared himself was already eye-catching, standing out like a crane among chickens, and whenever he appeared, he became the focus of the entire school. Every time he appeared at the foot of the teaching building, people around would secretly take photos of him with their phones. He didn't care either, just leaned against the doorframe, playing with his phone while waiting for Leslie to come out. Even at 188 centimeters tall, he could wear a windbreaker with the poise of a model. It seemed even the wind favored him especially. It's no exaggeration to say that even a single strand of his hair is absolutely perfect. The first time I saw him, he was standing with his hands in his pockets, confessing to Leslie. That was a face with a distinct mixed heritage look, a high nose bridge, sharp jawline, and a smile that carried a hint of careless roguishness. Most importantly, he has money. On the day of the welcome party, the principal personally accompanied his father to the VIP seats. The innate nobility about him was never built upon a pile of luxury goods. Sometimes I feel, Jared and Leslie are like the protagonists of this world. They all possess an innate sense of superiority. All good things will come to them, and I'm just a broken campus belle with a mother who died young, a gambling father, a sick grandmother, and the need to work 3 jobs a day just to survive. They are but insignificant supporting characters in their lives. Leslie asked me why I do 3 part-time jobs every day. I patiently explained, because I don't have money. She rolled her eyes so hard they nearly went to the back of her head. If you don't have money, just ask your dad for it. Why pretend? You look so stressed every day. Is it really that serious? I didn't know how to make her understand my situation, so I just said softly, my dad is my biggest source of stress. Maybe it's because she's never experienced the hardships of life that she just can't stand Jared, but she fell for a penniless, chauvinistic athlete who only knew how to sweet-talk, always saying he'd give her his heart if he could. All he ever gave were worthless things. Every time Valentine's Day approached, that athlete would break up with her, but after Valentine's Day, he would come crawling back to Leslie to make up. Leslie didn't notice anything wrong, but I'm very sensitive about money. I knew that guy just didn't want to waste money on buying her a Valentine's Day gift. Sometimes, I remind her to keep her distance from that athlete. She asked me with a grievance, Christina, you're so strange. Why do you always think the worst of people? Is it because you've never been cherished and loved, and you're jealous of me? I didn't say anything more after that. Once, on my way to the library, I saw Jared arguing with Leslie in his luxury car. Jared threw the flowers he had intended to give to Leslie on the ground and asked with a raised eyebrow, "You're in a relationship. Why didn't you tell me? Is it fun to play with me like this? What exactly makes me inferior to him?" Leslie lifted her chin. "Jared, someone like you only knows how to throw money at me and has no idea what love is." I thought Jared would show a somewhat sad expression, but I was wrong. Jared let out a low laugh. The laughter carried a hint of self-mockery and a touch of indifference. "I don't need to understand. If I have money, there will naturally be people lining up to love me." He beckoned to me not far away. "Hey, I'll give you money. You come love me." I was stunned. A long time later, I heard my own voice. Okay, I thought I had helped Leslie solve a problem. But Leslie's face instantly darkened. "Christina, are you really that cheap? You'd pick up what I don't want?" I didn't argue. I only knew that Grandma was still in the hospital waiting for the medical fees to be paid, and my father was pressing for gambling debts again. I needed money, lots and lots of money, enough money to pull me out of the mud. After we got together, Jared, he was really good to me. Whenever my father lost money gambling, he would come to the school and force me to give him money. Jared somehow managed to make sure he never came again. Grandma's medical bills were paid off in one go, and she was transferred to a VIP ward in the city center hospital. The caregiver sent daily photos of her smiling in the sun. He could easily handle everything for me. He made me quit all my part-time jobs. Every day he showered me with endless gifts, constantly surprising me in new ways. From designer bags to custom jewelry, and even the financial management course I casually mentioned wanting to take the very next day, he hired a private tutor to come to my school. Following him, I learned to read financial reports, make investments, and gradually mastered many money-making skills. Apart from that, we hugged, kissed, and even booked hotel rooms like any ordinary couple. My first time, he was shirtless, his cool pale shoulder line forming a smooth, taut curve, as he leaned down to kiss me. The silver chain around his neck rested against his beautiful collarbone, swaying gently with his movements. My heart was racing so fast I almost ran out of oxygen. He chuckled softly. "Silly, next time we kiss, remember to breathe." Jared's desires are truly immense, and I've had to learn to cater to his various whims. He doesn't like using condoms, so I take the pill. He craves excitement, so I accompany him in exploring various locations to keep things fresh, but he really is a jerk. After being with me, the number of women around him never decreased. He has always been open to anyone who comes his way. His social media is filled with intimate photos with various internet celebrities. At banquets, he never pushes away those who flirtatiously link arms with him. Some girls even called me directly, speaking in a provocative tone. "I've cried over this before. He didn't care at all. I'm dating you, not becoming a monk at a temple. You can't handle it. Okay, I won't force you. Then let's break up. I'll find someone who can handle it." After that, I became more sensible and stopped saying anything. In fact, I wasn't as obedient as he said. I am a woman and I also need a proper outlet. Jared is handsome, wealthy, and the perfect candidate. He is indeed very charming. It must be said that he also gave me a helping hand during the lowest point of my life. I am grateful to him. And I genuinely liked him too, but that's just the kind of person he is. He was born at the top of the pyramid, he doesn't understand love, and he will never learn how to love you, but occasionally, he tries to comfort you in the way a lover would. When he enters you and you cry out in pain, he will still hold your face, kiss you over and over, and tell you he loves you. He is a spoiled, mad dog, but if you keep stroking his fur the right way, he might care about you a little. Such a person, it's fine to just talk. But I never thought about spending the rest of my life with him. I'm already 27 years old, I can't afford to play around anymore. I also want to find the right opportunity. Break up with him. After returning from the club, Jared drank with friends and came home very late. The next day, Jared called me, his voice tinged with the laziness of someone just waking up. Christina, bring a document to the company for me. I need it for a meeting. At the company, I unintentionally saw Leslie. Leslie was wearing a faded professional outfit, holding a stack of documents, her hair neatly combed, yet unable to conceal the unease in her eyes. A few days ago, my college friend told me, Leslie's father's factory went bankrupt. Her boyfriend, who was about to marry her, ran off with the last bit of money. Now she works as the lowest level clerk at Jared's company, not even qualified to see him once. Seeing me, Leslie was stunned. She covered her mouth in surprise. You are Christina. How have you changed so much? You used to be clearly. Her words trailed off. Jared's lazy voice came from behind. Christina, where are my documents? He walked over and naturally embraced me from behind, his chin nuzzling the back of my head. The gesture was so intimate, as if it had been done 1,000 times. Leslie looked at the successful Jared, feeling a sense of loss, her lips pressed into a thin line, her fingertips digging into the edge of the document until her knuckles turned white. But Jared never gets close to me at the company. I know he's doing it for Leslie to see. The second time I saw Leslie was on Jared and my 5th anniversary of dating. Jared booked the most upscale 5-star restaurant. At the dinner table, he suddenly said to me, I've invited Leslie. You don't mind, do you? Seeing me stunned, he laughed. Why so nervous? I just wanted her to take some couple photos for us. Leslie came over. Jared skillfully approached me, took my phone from my arms, and handed it to her. Make it look good. As he spoke, the corners of his mouth curled into a smile, his gaze fixed on me, and he reached out to tuck the stray hair behind my ear. Leslie, her hand trembled as she took the photo. This reaction seemed to please Jared. He reached out and wrapped his arm around my waist, deliberately pulling me closer into his embrace, then leaned down and whispered in my ear, Baby, smile, it's our 5-year anniversary. His breath brushed against the curve of my ear, as if he were about to kiss me the next second, but I could sense that Jared was distracted while talking to me, his eyes constantly glancing at Leslie. Enough. Leslie suddenly put down her phone, her voice choked with tears, which fell like broken strings of pearls. Jared, I know I was immature before. I was the one who rejected you. But why do you have to humiliate me like this? Deliberately being so good to her in front of me. Deliberately making me take a photo of the two of you. Do you think it's especially amusing to see me sad, to see me regretful? After all, we've known each other for a while. I've never done anything to wrong you. Why do you have to bully me like this? She was trembling all over from crying, her gaze toward Jared full of grievance. Jared's body stiffened for a moment. I could feel my shoulder being squeezed painfully by him. Leslie threw my phone on the ground, wiped her tears, and ran off. Jared cursed under his breath. Shit. He pushed me aside, grabbed his coat, and chased after her. I crouched down and picked up my phone. The screen is already shattered. On our 5th anniversary, Jared left me all alone there. That night, Jared gave no explanation, just sent a message saying, not coming back tonight. I said nothing. I just took another pregnancy test while he was away, confirming that I was indeed pregnant. Then, I secretly scheduled an abortion appointment by myself. I knew that Jared and I couldn't last long, so I didn't rely on Jared's money to live. Most of my expenses are covered by my own earnings. I can live well even without him. I thought nothing else would happen that night. Unexpectedly, in the middle of the night, the doorknob suddenly made a faint turning sound. The man walked in, half of his face hidden in the moonlight. Jared actually came back. I curled up on the bed, pretending to be asleep. Jared walked in, took off his clothes, and slipped the new phone under my pillow. The mattress sank in one spot as he pressed against me from behind, his breath brushing against the nape of my neck. Still mad, I remained silent. He nibbled on my earlobe, one hand slipping into my pajamas, feeling for the clasp of my underwear. Sweetie, I know you're awake. But no matter how he teased, I kept my back turned to him. He turned over, propping himself up on both sides of me, forcing me to look at him. Guess what I found when I came back today? I saw the opened pregnancy test wrapper in the trash can. He leaned in closer, his tall nose brushing against mine, our breaths tangling together. The man's lips curled into a smile. Baby, be honest with me. Are you pregnant? At that moment, my heart skipped a beat. Even my breath seemed to stop, but I quickly regained my composure. There were only packaging boxes in the trash can. I had already flushed the pregnancy test down the toilet. I rubbed my eyes drowsily. Oh, I forgot to take the pill last time, so I wanted to test it, but unfortunately, I'm not pregnant. He lowered his gaze to me, his expression unreadable. Not pregnant. I hugged him. Why would I lie to you? If I were really pregnant, I'd tell you immediately and have you wrapped around my finger. He chuckled. Baby, do you really want to marry me that much? Before I could speak, he gently kissed my forehead. Don't worry, if you really are pregnant, we'll get married. Okay, I didn't answer, because I wouldn't have his child, nor did I plan to marry him. It's strange to say, but I really liked him. But to marry him, I am unwilling. Perhaps, more than loving him, I love myself more. In my carefully planned future, there is no Jared in it. The next day, a mutual friend of mine and Jared told me privately, Leslie got promoted. From the lowest level employee, she was directly promoted to Jared's personal secretary. I wasn't really surprised by this outcome, because Jared is that kind of person, selfish, doing as he pleases, never caring about anyone's thoughts. He knows I love him, so he naturally assumed that I would, as I had countless times before, pretend not to see anything and continue to stay quietly by his side. Until one day, he fulfilled his promise to marry me, but he was mistaken. I wasn't that obedient. The third time I saw Leslie was when I went to Jared's office to look for him. Jared wasn't there. It was Leslie who received me. She was completely different from the last time we met. At this moment, she was wearing exquisite makeup and a custom-made beige silk blouse, looking very elegant and refined. She also had a new hairstyle, with her hair gently tied up. It's no exaggeration to say that every single strand of hair was perfectly in place. It must be said, money really does nurture a person. I sat down in the tea room waiting for Jared. Leslie walked up to me, opened WeChat, and said, Christina, I am Jared's personal secretary. Let's exchange contact information. If you need to reach Jared for anything, you can contact me, and I'll help relay the message. This familiar demeanor made it seem as if she were the lady of the house. I picked up my tea and looked at her calmly, my voice steady and unemotional. Do I need to report to an outsider when I contact my partner? Leslie was stunned, but I still scanned her WeChat code and added her contact. I don't want to wait any longer, Jared, so I got up and left. When I reached the door, I turned back and smiled at her. By the way, if you have something urgent to discuss with him when he's not in the office, you can contact me first, and I'll help pass the message along. After all, we do it every night. His phone is either on silent or he simply doesn't have time to turn it on. You probably won't be able to reach him. Leslie's face instantly turned extremely unpleasant. Even the forced smile at the corner of her mouth shattered in an instant. She stared at me intently. I didn't look at her and turned to leave, but I never expected that night. Leslie would stumble out of Jared's passenger seat, completely drunk. Leslie staggered as she got out of the car, almost losing her balance. Jared said nothing and simply picked her up. Leslie wrapped her arms around his neck and grinned at him foolishly. Jared said to me as he passed by, "She's sleeping in our guest room tonight." That was all he said, no further explanation. He's always been like this. When it comes to relationships between men and women, I neither avoid the topic nor offer explanations. As if my feelings were of no importance, it was the driver who came over and said to me, "Leslie got drunk helping Mr. Jared fend off drinks, and Mr. Jared didn't feel comfortable letting a young woman go home alone. There's no one at her home, and she's this drunk. There was no other way. Mr. Jared had to bring her back." A few minutes later, Jared carried Leslie to the guest room bed. As I walked in, Jared was half kneeling, holding Leslie's snow-white ankle, helping her take off her high heels. Leslie cupped her face and stared at Jared, saying, "Am I disturbing your couple time here?" Jared said calmly. "No," Leslie pouted. "Then why haven't you two gotten married after all this time?" Jared said in a tone that betrayed little emotion. "Not yet. I haven't had enough fun. I don't want to settle down so quickly. But if she gets pregnant, I'll marry her." Leslie gently leaned closer to him. "What if I were pregnant with your child? Would you marry me then?" Jared looked at her for a few seconds, then suddenly curled his lips into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "No." Leslie's smile froze for an instant. Her eyes immediately reddened as she grabbed the pillow beside her and threw it at him. "I hate you. I don't want to see you." Jared grabbed her wrist. "Be good. Stop making a scene," Leslie sobbed, pounding his chest. "Why are you so mean? Why do you always bully me? They say the more a man bullies a woman, the more it shows he likes her and cares about her." Jared. "Is that how you are too?" Jared dodged her question. "You're drunk." Leslie hugged him. "I'm not drunk. I'm perfectly sober. I regret turning you down back then. Can we start over? Weren't you only with her to make me jealous? I'm back. This time I'm here to love you." "Okay." Jared let her hold him. neither pushing her away nor responding. This scene should have been as beautiful as a romantic idol drama, but I broke the silence. Leaning against the doorframe, I calmly looked at them. Do you need me to buy condoms for you? What brand do you prefer? After a pause, I suddenly laughed. Oh, I forgot. No need to buy. You don't like using protection. I turned to leave. Jared pulled away from Leslie's hand, strode over to me in a few steps, and tightly gripped my wrist. Christina, what do you mean? He frowned. Don't play games with me. There's nothing between her and me. My wrist hurt from his grip. I looked at him and said, word by word, if it's nothing, then just have the driver take her home. Is that so hard? If you don't trust a male driver, doesn't the company have female drivers too? Jared frowned. Since childhood, he had been pampered by everyone, accustomed to having his way, disliking restraints and anyone trying to control him, including me. Indeed, he curled the corner of his lips into a faint smile, though his eyes held no warmth. Christina, are you starting to manage me now? Is that it? I didn't answer. His expression gradually turned cold. Have I spoiled you too much over the years, giving you the illusion that you can control me? If you can't handle it, then break up. He stared into my eyes and chuckled softly. But do you dare? Here we go again. It's always like this. He doesn't even bother to hide it. He's certain I can't leave him, in front of me. He's always so confident and unafraid. He thought he had me by the throat, thought I couldn't live without him. Thought I'd end up crying and begging him not to leave, not to break up. But he had no idea I'd been wanting to escape all along. I took a deep breath. You're right, I really can't play this game. In that case, let's break up. The moment the words fell, Jared seemed to have been put on pause. He froze completely. He probably never imagined that the words break up would ultimately come from my mouth. For the first time, that always indifferent person, who seemed to care about nothing, showed a hint of something resembling panic, but this only lasted for a few seconds. The air pressure around him suddenly dropped, and his expression turned extremely grim. Jared twitched the corner of his mouth, trying to regain the initiative. Who taught you this trick again? If you think you can control me like this, then you're being too naive. Christina, no one believes you would leave me. Let me give you a piece of advice. My patience is limited, if you push it too far. Be careful not to make it impossible to resolve. If I really break up with you, don't come crying and begging me to take you back. I met his gaze and said word by word, this is not a joke, and no one taught me. You said it yourself. If I can't handle it, we break up. I'm just doing as you said. Let's break up. Jared, I mean it. Christina. He punched the wall like a rabid dog out of control, his face frighteningly grim. After what seemed like an eternity, he suddenly broke into a chilling smile. Fine, you want to break up, don't you? Don't regret it. I'd like to see how long you can hold out. I moved out of Jared's villa. The scheduled abortion is in a week. I went through a series of physical examinations. There weren't any major issues. Before boarding the plane, I immediately blocked and deleted all of Jared's contact information in one go. Then, I flew to the apartment my best friend helped me find, becoming her neighbor. Over the years, Jared and I each got what we needed. He played with me. I took the money, and it wasn't a loss for me. I also learned a lot about making money from him, and the savings I accumulated are enough to live comfortably for the rest of my life. On the plane, I was thinking about what to do next. Maybe I'll enjoy a period of single life. Maybe I'll marry the good man my grandmother carefully selected for me. But on the first day after moving out of Jared's house, I still went to the bar with my best friend and got drunk. In the bar, I was crying my heart out. My best friend sighed. Since you knew breaking up with him would make you cry so miserably, why did you insist on ending it? Do you regret it now? I wiped away my tears. Actually, I just enjoy playing the tragic heroine a bit. I'll be full of energy again by tomorrow. My best friend gave me a thumbs up. Impressive. She opened her phone camera. Don't say it, but you actually look pretty when you cry. That kind of fragile beauty is rare. I'll take a photo of you. I reminded her. Then remember to Photoshop it after you take the picture. But she hadn't started filming yet. My sixth sense keenly detected that someone was secretly filming me from behind. I turned my head sharply, but in the dimly lit bar, only shifting figures were visible. Nothing unusual caught my eye. It felt like it was just my imagination. My best friend asked me, "What's wrong?" I shook my head. "It's nothing. By the way, have you started filming? Let me find the right angle." The day we went to the hospital, while waiting in line for my number, I was feeling a bit bored. The pregnant woman next to me was quite talkative. Seeing that I was alone, she couldn't help but strike up a conversation. "Why did you come by yourself?" "Where's your partner?" I said. "Broke up with my boyfriend, that's why." She sighed. "You young people are so impulsive. Even if you break up, you can still make up. Look at your eyes. It's obvious you've been crying these past few days. You must be reluctant to let go, right?" I laughed. Honestly, I cried just because I loved to act, not because I was heartbroken. Even though I was acting like my life was over when we broke up, if I really had to carry his child, I wouldn't dare. I can still tell the difference between crying while holding a blanket and crying while holding a child. Let's just talk for now. I have someone else in mind for marriage. Just then, a sinister voice sounded by my ear. Oh, who do you want to marry? That voice, so familiar it made my blood freeze in an instant. I stiffly turned my head and met Jared's eyes. He was standing right behind me, looking at me with a cold, mocking smile, his eyes as icy as frost. I had no idea how much of what I just said he had overheard. Before I could react, he grabbed my wrist, his tone leaving no room for argument. Come with me. Just then, the doctor called my name. Jared took the opportunity to pull me into his embrace, smiling at the doctor as he explained, sorry, just a little spat with my girlfriend, but it's all resolved now, we're not going through with the surgery. The doctor adjusted his glasses and said sternly, you young people really don't know how to behave, especially you. How could you upset your girlfriend so much that she came alone for an abortion? You're really failing as a boyfriend. It's the first time I've seen Jared in such a good temper. He didn't lose his temper and tried to maintain his composure. You're right. We'll definitely communicate better in the future. Anyone who didn't know better would think we were an inseparable couple just having a minor disagreement. He dragged me out of the hospital. His strength was immense. No matter how hard I pushed, I couldn't break free. I said to him, let go of me. Jared then picked me up horizontally, placed me in the car, got in himself, and locked the doors. He threw the photo of me crying in the bar right in front of me. He almost gritted his teeth. Christina, I didn't know you were such an actress. I was afraid you might do something foolish. So I had someone follow you and report your condition to me at all times. Do you know what I was thinking when I saw this photo? I fucking feel sorry for you. I was looking forward to making up with you. I even wanted to go find you right away, hold you in my arms, and comfort you properly. Do you have any idea what I was doing when you were planning to get rid of our child? I was fucking designing the engagement ring I wanted to give you, over and over again with someone. Christina. You are so cruel. That is our child. You want to abort our child. How could you? How could you bear to do it? His shoulders trembled violently. Finally, he reached out and held me, as if trying to press me into his embrace. You're pregnant. Why didn't you tell me? If you had told me, I would have married you. Christina, you're great. You've won. This time I was the jerk. Let's make up. Do you want a Chinese-style wedding or a Western-style one, after we get married? Where do you want to go for our honeymoon? I'll listen to whatever you say. I looked at the red streaks in his eyes, remained silent for a few seconds, and then slowly spoke. Since you already know it's your child, then you should pay for the abortion. Jared was stunned, his eyes filled with disbelief. I met his gaze and added, the cost of the abortion is a bit high. I think we should split it. He looked at me, silent for a long time. Finally, he let out a bitter laugh. Christina. From beginning to end, you never included me in your future, did you? He, who had always treated love as a game and never bowed to anyone, was completely red-eyed. You've been planning to leave me all along, haven't you? What exactly do you take me for in your heart? I looked at him. Jared. Stop saying you're not in my future plans. In weighing the pros and cons, we are evenly matched. For romance, I would definitely choose someone good-looking. But for marriage, I have another candidate in mind. Let's not talk about owing each other anything. It's just a matter of each getting what they need. Jared took a deep breath. I know you're angry with me. You resent me. Okay, I accept that. But I don't agree with you aborting our child. This is our child. And I won't allow you to make this decision on your own. I said word by word, Jared, this is my body, and I have the right to decide what happens to it. This sentence acted like a fuse, instantly destroying his rationality. Jared went completely mad, almost shouting, Christina, that's our child. What more do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Drive Leslie away. I'll call her right now and tell her never to show up again. I can do that. I interrupted him. Jared, you said it, can't handle it, then break up. Weren't you always able to handle it? What's wrong with you? Jared nearly gritted his teeth to pieces. Yes, it's my fault. I was wrong. I fucking can't handle it. He held my hand, lowering his stance to the extreme. Christina, let's start over. Okay, this time, there won't be anyone else. I looked at his reddened eyes, slowly shook my head, and spoke calmly yet firmly. But I don't want to go along with it anymore, Jared. It took me 5 years to finally figure out one thing. We're not right for each other. Let's just end it here. Jared was unwilling to leave. That very day, he found an agent and rented the apartment next to mine. In the days that followed, he became an inescapable shadow in my life. In the mornings, he would gently knock on my door and leave my favorite breakfast at my doorstep. I often see him walking on my usual path when I return from a walk, and he takes the initiative to explain. Don't be nervous, I just finished a remote meeting and came out to get some fresh air. There was even a time when I went downstairs to pick up a package and ran into him standing and talking with a woman. When he saw me, he almost immediately walked quickly toward me and clarified at the first moment, "Christina, I'm not close with her, she was just asking for directions." He never used to explain anything about his relationship with women, even when I stayed up late binge-watching shows. The light in his living room would remain on until around the same time. He never crossed the line, keeping just a door's distance between us. He guarded me in this clumsy way, like a stubborn vine quietly entwining the edges of my life, but I wasn't the least bit moved. I knew he had finally realized he could no longer control me. He had never truly faced the possibility of losing me before, always thinking I would forgive, wait, and clean up the mess forever, when I really left. He lost control not because he suddenly felt deep affection, but because he realized the confidence he once had was gone. He didn't suddenly fall in love with me, he just lost his sense of control and began to panic. What he's trying to hold on to isn't me, but the version of me who always revolved around him and kept compromising. What he's desperately trying to reclaim isn't me as a person, but his position in this relationship. I don't deny that he has emotions and a bit of regret. But that was not the afterglow of love, it was emptiness, unwillingness, and loss of control. Fortunately, such a balance did not last long. This time when I came home, Jared was waiting for me at the door. He said to me, "I have an emergency with a company project and must go back to handle it. I'll be back in 3 days, at most. Christina, wait for me." Okay, I didn't respond, but he seemed to take it as consent, or perhaps I could only rely on this bit of self-consolation to keep going. He gave me one last deep look before hurriedly grabbing his coat and leaving. The day after he left, I scheduled an abortion. The lights on the operating table were very bright. In a daze, I only felt that the heavy stone weighing on my heart for so long had finally settled gently to the ground. After that, I moved. Jared received the news in the company conference room. It said he was in a high-level meeting at the time. Upon seeing the message, his face instantly turned deathly pale. And the pen in his hand slammed onto the table with a thud, cutting off everyone's speech. He didn't say a word, rushed straight out of the meeting room, walked all the way to his office, and the moment the door closed, his suppressed anger completely erupted. Files on the desk were swept to the ground. He leaned against the wall, grabbing his hair with both hands, a trapped beast-like sob escaping his throat, his eyes bloodshot and dense with red veins, even his breathing trembling. In the chaos, Leslie heard the news and rushed over, wanting to knock and persuade him, but he roared through the door to send her away. Get out of here, don't come to work tomorrow, I never want to see you again." He later called me many times using different phone numbers. From the initial emotional breakdown and questioning, to the later cautious apologies, he said to me, "Christina, I miss you so much. Please don't hang up, okay? I just want to hear your voice one more time." I didn't reply any further, blocking all his phone numbers one by one. Life gradually returned to normal. My best friend and I pooled some money together and opened a dessert shop. We painted the walls a warm white and furnished it with wooden tables and chairs. We once did such a survey in college. If income wasn't a concern, what job would you want to do? Both my best friend and I dreamed of opening a dessert shop together. Unfortunately, back then, I had to work 3 part-time jobs every day and was too exhausted to pursue that dream. Now, it has become a reality within reach. Later, at my grandmother's urging, I began to go on arranged dates as planned. The first time I met Keith, he was wearing a neatly ironed white shirt and holding a literature book in his hand. He was very good-looking, on par with Jared, but this kind of good looks is completely different from Jared's aggressive handsomeness. He wears gold-rimmed glasses and carries an air of gentle refinement. His gaze behind the lenses is warm and focused, always carrying a hint of earnest smile when looking at others. He does everything at a steady pace and is a very emotionally stable person. He is a professor in the Chinese department at the neighboring university and the son of my grandmother's old friend. He has taken a liking to me, and we've been meeting more and more often. I didn't hide my past with Jared from him and found an opportunity to tell him everything. At first, I was worried he might mind, but he didn't say much, just looked into my eyes with a very serious tone. "Christina, all of that is in the past. He made you very sad, and I hope you can truly forget him and seriously start the next chapter of your life." Then, after the 3rd month of us being together, he said to me solemnly, "Christina, let's give it a try." Our relationship wasn't passionate or dramatic, but it was comfortable in every way. Keith is that typical fatherly type of partner. He is 3 years older than me, mature and steady, with a stable temperament. He takes planning our future seriously. He likes to keep an eye on me, but also spoils me. He always reminds me to drink water and eat well, and after I shower, he gently helps me blow dry my hair and do the laundry. With him around, the house is always neat and tidy. Our way of getting along mostly involves me being playful while he smiles. He is also happy to join in my craziness and playfulness. It's hard for us to argue when we're together. He always notices my mood right away. When we have an argument, his first reaction is to comfort me, waiting for me to calm down before gently reasoning with me, when I occasionally feel unwell during my period. He doesn't just say empty words, he buys heating pads and brown sugar in advance. When he comes to my home, he even brings a thermal container with a pot of soft, well-cooked red date and millet porridge. Then he sat beside me, gently massaging my stomach. His movements as tender as if handling a fragile treasure. We had been together for half a year. The evening breeze still carried the lingering warmth of late summer. I was looking down, watching my shadow sway beneath my feet. Keith suddenly leaned in softly and gently took my hand from behind. I turned back to look at him. He took out an engagement ring. Keith didn't rush to hand it over, but instead gazed at me quietly, his voice gentler than the wind. Christina, I'm not the first person you've embraced, not the first one to hold your hand, nor the first one you liked. Jared curled his lips indifferently. It's not like she's pregnant yet, is it? Over there, will you marry me? I looked at the sincere light in his eyes and nodded. 1 year after getting married, we had a lovely daughter, nicknamed Madge. Madge resembles Keith, with gentle eyes and 2 small dimples that appear when she smiles. On weekends when the weather is nice, I often hold Keith's hand and take Madge to the mall for shopping. That day at the entrance of the children's clothing store, as I was bending down to pick out a dress for Madge, a familiar yet hoarse voice suddenly came from behind me. I turned around and saw Jared standing not far away. His eyes were bloodshot, and compared to his former high-spirited self, he now carried a touch of weariness. Jared's gaze fell on Madge, first pausing in surprise, then a faint glimmer of hope suddenly ignited in his eyes. He stumbled forward, his voice trembling. Christina, this is our child, right? Before I could speak, the Madge in my arms suddenly called out Daddy to him. She broke free from my hand and dashed toward Jared. Jared almost reached out to hold her, but she passed right by him, ran towards Keith who had just bought ice cream. Keith caught the pouncing Madge and handed the ice cream to her with a smile. Jared watched as Madge threw herself into Keith's arms, the light in his eyes gradually fading. Keith held Madge and walked toward me. When he looked up and saw Jared, he didn't ask any questions, just gently put his arm around my shoulder and gave me a reassuring look. Jared opened his mouth but said nothing. Eventually just standing there in a daze, watching the 3 of us slowly disappear into the crowd, leaning against Keith, I felt the warmth of his palm and watched Madge smile with her eyes curved like crescent moons as she held her ice cream, feeling completely at peace inside. Those memories about Jared are like a passing breeze, finally completely gone. The days ahead don't need to be grand or intense, as long as we hold hands steadily like this. We can turn every ordinary dawn and dusk into a solid happiness.